Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the AI Radio Room. My name is Matthew Viniak. I'm the community manager at Magnet AI, and I'm joined today with Nate Holliday, CEO and co-founder of Space and Time.
Thanks for having me. Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to be in Brussels.
It is. It's a great city.
So we'll get on with it, I guess. Could you tell us a little bit more about what Space and Time does?
Yeah. No, first of all, thanks for having me. I think one of the things that we've kind of talked about, in preparation to this is AI is really something that's really consuming all of the discussions here so far at ECC. So looking forward to the discussion and congrats on all the things that you guys are building as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So nowadays, a lot of AI systems are kind of trained on publicly available data scraped from the internet or from social media, which might not necessarily have permission from the user to use for training.
Yeah.
Do you think it's ethical to use this data without the consent of creators?
No, I think it's a great question. Obviously, privacy and security around people's data is the number one concern when it comes to AI today.
Yeah.
I think there's not only just individuals, I think corporations want to leverage AI. A lot of the large banks that we work with, a lot of the auditing firms, a lot of the applications and just consumer application products, they all want to use AI. And the concern is always around security. It's around people's privacy, how we're handling the data. And when you think just about the mass kind of adoption of AI today, it's going to continue. And databases are going to grow. The need for privacy is going to increase. And so I think that it's not that people want to misuse people's data. It's that they don't necessarily have all the tools to give the power of the privacy and security of that data back to the users.
Cool.
And if you build AI in a Web 2 infrastructure like it's being built in today, you're never going to have that, right? You're going to have this centralized black box protocols that are driving AI that are centralized. They're driven to drive revenue for organizations. It's driven to drive engagement. And so that's why we're here in Web3 building a new data infrastructure for the world. That's why we care about verifiable compute. Space and Time is a verifiable compute layer for AI agents and smart contracts for Web3 and for AI. And we believe that this is where the world's going. Today in Web 2, you have centralized computation that can be manipulated, that can be monitored, which creates all the concerns that you talked about around AI. Space and Time is creating a Web3 structure for that, where it's tamper-proof, it can't be manipulated, it gives the power back to the constituents of the internet where you can control your own data. So, I know it's a longer question than maybe what you asked, but I don't think the intent is to harvest and manipulate data in a bad way to take advantage of people. I just think the infrastructure isn't built today to support that.
Okay, and that's kind of where we're progressing.
Correct.
Web3. Okay. So have you heard a little bit about the dispute that's going on between Warner Brothers, Sony, and Udio and Suno?
You bet.
Yeah. So do you think that sort of lawsuit is like a legitimate defense of artists' rights, or do you think they're trying to, or they're almost unintentionally stifling technological progress with this sort of lawsuit?
Well, I think it's a challenge, right? Because corporations are built to own IP, right? They are built to ensure that the IP that they have is driving revenue and driving adoption and driving usage for the overall corporation. And a lot of time, these artists, they give over a lot of rights. And sadly, they give over a lot of rights before sometimes they become very big.
Yeah.
And I think, if you're a big Taylor Swift fan, I know she was just doing an Eras tour here around Europe lately, but she just went out and just re-recorded all of her music again.
Taylor's version.
Taylor's version, right? But she's big enough that she can do that, right? There's a lot of stars that can't do that, and maybe they don't have the following to do that. So it's a challenge, right? I think as we look at new artists that are being developed and are developing their careers, I think they're going to be a lot more wiser around how they think about structuring the IP rights, how they think about interacting with their consumers and giving away the different types of rights that they have. So I think it's a challenge, right? Those that have made it in the industry and have, obviously generated a lot of revenue for corporations, they have the ability to transition, but they've also been paid for their services as well. So obviously you want artists to own what they build and what they develop overall in a period of time. So I think going forward, the industry will move in the right direction independently because artists will want to consume most of their IP, over their lifetime, and as they pass away, to give it to their children or their friends and family as well.
Okay. So kind of linking on from that, do you think there's a pressing need for infrastructure that's on Web3 for blockchain AI? And I kind of want to know whether you think existing Web2 solutions are sufficient.
Yeah, it's a great question. Existing Web 2 solutions scale.
Mm.
They scale with big data sets. The thing about AI is you need a lot of data, and that data needs to be processed near real time, and you need to look over the whole history of that data. And you have to be able to run algorithms and models over that data to ensure that the output is unique, right, and very specific. So Web 2, where they get it right is they scale, right? They have centralized service providers. You can put a lot of data in there. You can process that data very quickly. But the challenge with Web 2 data service providers, which we already talked about, which is it's not trustless. You can't verify that data. And in the future, you need to have verifiable data that's driving the AI models. We're excited about AI because AI agents and AI in general are going to need verifiable data. Me as a user, I don't feel comfortable giving my bank account access or my credit cards to an AI agent to go process and purchase things on my behalf, independent of my ability to audit it and my ability to verify it. And so I think that these two trends will continue to increase, and the verifiable compute is going to be really important for that.
Okay. So in terms of your project, could you maybe define for us what proof of SQL represents?
Yeah. Proof of SQL or proof of SQL is just a ZK proof, right? So in a database, you need to return queries. These queries or models that are being run in a database can service a smart contract, right? It can service an AI agent. It can service an enterprise application.
Sure.
These databases typically run in a cluster of nodes. And those clusters of nodes are off-chain. And so it's not like a transactional ledger or a blockchain where it's just the transaction. You have all the personal data, all the consumer data that's linked to those transactions. Those all happen off-chain in a database. How do you verify that database? You need a ZK proof, right? So proof of SQL is that for SQL databases. Most of the world, most enterprise applications run on SQL. And so we believe that the mass adoption of database processing in a verifiable way is going to be done on SQL databases.
Okay. Lovely. So there are companies now that are trying to. So with AI, there's an issue of verifiability of authenticity as well. Is content generated by AI or is it human generated, right?
Yeah.
And there are companies that are kind of trying to solve this. I think Numbers Protocol is doing something where they almost try and verify each pixel that's taken via camera to verify whether it's authentic, and then really, launch a proof on chain. How realistic do you think that sort of thing would be for adoption? Do you think it's very easily adoptable, or is it maybe quite a difficult process to adopt that sort of technology?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are building proof of, I call proof of picture, bro, right? Is this picture real? Was it really taken? Is there a date stamp? Is there a geolocation of that? To your point, where the pixels altered at any point in time. That I think that's a very important proof that's going to continue to grow. If you just look, everyone has a phone, everyone's taking pictures. These pictures solve mysteries, they solve crimes, they solve a lot of different things. And so that'll continue to grow. Where we think proofs are interesting as well is around the database. So you have these billion inputs leading into LLMs, large language models. These large language models tend to drift over a period of time, right? So the intention of a large language model will continuously learn, and it'll drift from wherever that was originated from for a large language model. We're working with NVIDIA, we're working with Microsoft, and we're working with very large auditing firms on this as well, because then the question becomes, what are the inputs into this large language model, and can you verify and can you audit these inputs? And the reason it's important is, if you have, let's say, Bloomberg data is feeding your large language model, and you have all these financial data inputs that are feeding this large language model, you want to be able to, ensure that the origination of those data points are accurate. right? That nobody is spoofing a Bloomberg resource or a NASDAQ resource that's pretending to be, that data point, which is then creating false data into the LLM and starting to create a drift or a shift in that large language model. So we don't anticipate that we're going to tell you if a large language model or an output from AI is accurate, right? But we're going to tell you if this is the intent and the inputs of your large language model, the intent and input wasn't manipulated. And I think that those are two very different points. A lot of people think, oh, so you're going to tell me if a large language model is telling the truth. It's like, well, you can devise a large language model and have a lot of inputs. The question is are those inputs accurate or are they being manipulated or spoofed?
Okay. So now what about governance? In terms of who should lead setting legislation in digital governance, do you think it should be governments or do you think it should be primarily private enterprises?
Hopefully it's the people. Most people and most organizations in governments don't actually understand AI, right? And you have large corporations that are leading the cause right now, and you can see all over the world, governments will call in the business leaders from all over the world and do these large meetings where everyone comes in and talks about the safety of AI. They do that because corporations control that today, right? If you have a data infrastructure where organizations and corporations don't control it, then there wouldn't be really a reason to call the large business leaders from whatever country to meet with whatever government, because the people are deciding, right, the privacy, the capabilities of sharing of their data. And so that would ultimately drive the overall usage of data within an AI model.
We can do the quick fire questions from Jay.
No worries. ETH or Solana? What about you?
Personally,
Yeah.
ETH. Every day. We're at
Cool.
ECC. We have to support ETH, right?
Yeah.
Or do you believe in Solana?
Eigenlayer or Croc?
Oh, Eigenlayer. Yes.
ETH or Chainlink?
Chainlink. I'm a bit of a normie. Okay, so we'll do the quick fire questions now. This is a little bit of a new concept that we're going to try here at the Radio Room. We'll give you about 30 seconds to a minute, and we'll see how many you can power through. Okay. Ready?
I can say pass, right?
Sure. If you're really struggling, we can do a pass. Are you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
Lovely. 3, 2, 1, go. What's your favorite AI-powered tool?
Space and time.
What's the most surprising application of blockchain you've come across?
A diving board.
What's the one thing you can't live without?
Sleep.
What's your favorite use case for NFTs?
I still like soulbound NFTs.
What's your one hero you'd like to see at your table for dinner?
Oh, and the hero.
Pressure.
No pressure. I don't know, maybe Condoleezza Rice.
Works. Will AI ever become sentient?
Depends on how you define it, but for most cases, yes, in terms of business process.
Will AI surpass human intelligence?
Yes.
An AI and Web3 project you're excited about personally?
An AI and Web3 project at the intersection of course, space and time, but I think Theoric AI is really cool as well.
Lovely. What's the last book you read?
The last book I read was Shoe Dog, Phil Knight.
And is AI overhyped or underhyped?
Underhyped.
Lovely. Okay, we've got through a nice few questions there. We'd like to thank you for coming onto the Radio Room. Have you got anything planned while you're here in Brussels?
No, I'm a huge waffle connoisseur, so I'm going to try all the different waffle shops I can find.
There's plenty, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining us for the AI Radio Room. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.